Remember, this entire manga and every manga on this channel is hand-drawn by myself, and now you too can learn exactly how to make your own viral Dragon Ball mangas at www.makemanga.com, where you can learn directly from me. My mangas have got me on TV, on newspapers, and even earned me over $60,000 a month on Patreon alone. And now, you can click the link in the description and pinned comment of this video and do it yourself. You only need to see the website to see just how many thousands of you are taking this opportunity right now. And don't forget also, the next video to this Ultra Vegito series has already been made and is live now on my Patreon right now for over 4,500 of you incredible fans to watch after this. Again, links are in the pinned comment and description. Enjoy. So our story continues with the self-proclaimed Angel of Death, now looking more the part, as Ultra Vegito, after activating the demonic energy within, siphoned from the last two demon emperors he had absorbed, would now stand tall. His previously blemishless white wings now completely red, as if having been drenched in the blood of his previous victims. And looking to the sky, he would let out... So fusion versus fusion, huh? This better be fun. I haven't done this since I fought Gogeta. Vegito! But the wise Yamoshi, having been with the God-Killer now through almost everything, would be left shell-shocked at the new form Vegito would undergo, sensing his new murderous intent instantly, muttering, "That color! That symbol! He's doing it all over again! He's falling deeper into the power of the demons! Why, Vegito?" As with Yamoshi's annoyance building, confusingly, he would then return to base, as he would then continue, "Well, I can already tell he has absolutely no use for me now. My time in this battle is over, but my fears have only just begun. What is wrong with this kid? It's like he learned nothing from his time in the mortal realm. The only thing I can be thankful for is that even with the power he's using, he still looks like Vegito. Nothing like the freak he used to look like with Lucifer. Surely, that must be a good thing." Hello? Can you hear me up there? But as Yamoshi would try his best to find a silver lining for the situation, the God-Killer, looking up smugly with his arms folded, would then address the demon, "I'll tell you one thing. Never did I expect you two to go ahead and fuse. You demon emperors have almost as many cowardly tricks up your sleeve as the destroyers did. The fusion of crime and Cobra, huh? What do I call this mutant hybrid of yours now, friend?" To which the fused demon emperor, not amused in the slightest, looking down coldly, would just respond, "A name? We've never needed to be in this form long enough to ever need one. And not that you would be the one deserving to hear it. But if it will give you peace in your final moments, you may refer to us as Krimra, the Demon God." God, did you say? And on hearing this unexpected proclamation of his name and status, the mere mention of being a deity would unlock something sinister in Vegito, as with his teeth bared suddenly more than ever before, and with his demonic eyes now trailing energy, Vegito would grumble, "If that's the case, then you just gave me one more reason to make your slaughter as painful as possible." And for a moment following this, there would actually be a silence, as the wind would move through the snowy air, and Vegito and CALLMEARJ would just stare back at each other, waiting for each other's first move. Time to learn why I am the God Killer! Vegito! Calm down! As in an intense explosion of power and speed, with more fury than seen in an extremely long while, the God Killer Ultra Vegito, with his face positively warped into that of a beast, would scream as he flies headfirst directly at CALLMEARJ, his mouth salivating, letting out streams of spit, as if the Demon Emperor were nothing more than his feast. While all the while, Yamoshi, in the background stunned by his power, speed and force, would take cover amongst his arms, too petrified to mutter a word more. Impatient fool! But not lacking in any confidence now in his fused state, Demon God CALLMEARJ too would then launch at Vegito with equal speed and intensity. His face far less expressive, however, maintaining a mystique over just how powerful the creature really was. But that would soon quickly change once the two would finally meet, headbutting each other viciously like primal beings, with both their faces grimaced, baring teeth, as Vegito would comment, "No fusion from a headbutt this time, huh? A shame. I guess I'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way." As their force against each other would then continue, two immovable objects pressurizing immense power against one another, as a barrage of shockwaves would then be seen traveling directly from their apex point, before eventually separating simultaneously and circling one another, both carefully monitoring the movements of the other. Before instantly, both would vanish and reappear at the very heights of the sector, surrounded by miniature stars. It would seem even the sectors themselves would have their own versions of space, as now deadlocked hand in hand, the God Killer and CALLMEARJ would bring their fight to a whole new level, with the demon still emotionless face saying, "Good. At least here I won't have you soiling our kingdom anymore." To which Vegito would just grunt back, "Your kingdom? Not for long!" Leading to the demon breaking free of his grip quick to then land the first strike on Vegito, as the dual-winged Saiyan would recoil backwards. But when the demon would take his chance to swing again for his right hook next, Vegito, this time, would dodge out of the way, before vanishing and reappearing right behind CALLMEARJ in classic fashion, his arm already fully pulled back until landing his strike flush on the back of CALLMEARJ's skull, sending him and his flowing white hair down. And not before just as quickly, the demon would regain himself, looking back and commenting, "Seems, even now your attacks affect us. You really are quite something, God Killer." As once again, with little distance between them now, the two would have a stare down yet again, both not uttering a word, understanding each other only through their fists. But realizing no level of analysis would be useful, the two would then rush in at each other with battle cries again, eager to find out truly who is the stronger demonic fusion. And with that, the two powerhouses would then fight all through the sky, alternating between space and back down lower on the ground, non-stop trading blows, with one flowing his blood-red wings as the other flows his white hair. And watching it all happen with a perfect view below would be Yamoshi. His face entirely stunned, leaving him near speechless, as he would just mutter out, "These two, they're on a completely different level to before. I know how strong Vegito is, but even I'm impressed with how much even those weaker demon emperors have boosted his power. No way were those two even together as strong as either Cobra or Crime." But almost as if Yamoshi had some sort of commentator's curse, only moments later, at the end of their skirmish, the God Killer would land harshly and on one knee, his face in discomfort, leading us to believe Vegito may not be finding the battle as easy as first thought, as landing soon after with a stomp and still on his feet would of course be his demonic opponent. With Crimra now finally breaking his expression to finally smirk, he would giggle at the fused Saiyan saying, "Yes, well, it was impressive for how long you lasted. But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end. And it seems you may be at your limit. Demonic power isn't as easy to wield as you thought, is it, God Killer?" But on hearing this, it wouldn't be long before Vegito would rise, smiling once more, his eyes closed, as he would nonchalantly crack his knuckles, responding, "Sure, demon power can be hard to handle. I'd have more experience with that than even you, small fry. Don't forget whose power I used to control. But I tell you what's far harder than fighting using demon powers. Try fighting while suppressing it the entire time." Triggering Crimra's annoyance immediately, as he would call Vegito out on his bluff, saying, "This again? All this chatter about trying to give yourself a challenge. Just how long do you intend to go for? If I'm no challenge now, then I never will be. So cut it out with your slick talk. At least admit your inferiority, mortal. You stand before two emperors. Know your place." But opening his eyes and revealing a now stone-cold expression, Vegito would let out in response, "You're right. You can't provide any more challenge. and I should remember my place. My place way above you. After all, I'm fated to deal with your damn devil. A weakling like you is never going to satisfy me. Sorry for the wait, but now you die. As out of nowhere, never having shown any hint of such an ability before, the God Killer would then blast out instantly a blood-red laser straight out of his forehead. Its speed so fast, it would already be leaving the panel. As even with Krimra's fast instincts detecting it immediately, the beam with its insane speed would still already have closed the entire distance. As alarmingly, it wouldn't seem like the demonic god had time to dodge at all. What? And once we would get a full-on side view, the depth of how far the God Killer's laser beam went would be seen. Running right through his body like an X-ray, it would seem like the scene had almost frozen. No! As in what would only seem like a dream sequence after their near-equal battle only moments ago, in a gush of blood, the unthinkable would be seen, as Krimra's entire body, the body of a demon god, would be sliced clean in half, separating in slow motion, all before the eyes of the shocked into disbelief, fused Emperor. Our body! But when the demon would visually watch as his lower half would fall to the ground like a hunk of butcher meat, the seriousness of the situation and its reality would all come crashing down with it. Vegito! Leaving the once cold-faced demon to break out into a frenzy of anger, shock, and pure adrenaline, as his yells would reach almost eardrum-bursting volumes, his eyes wide open, unable to take them off his severed legs, as even his throat would begin letting out blood from all the internal damage he had just suffered so out of the blue. This cannot be real! Nobody is this strong! But even a demon emperor would not be able to maintain such a yell for that long, as their entire mass of blood and insides would continue to leak all over the ground. With his voice breaking, his breaths getting deeper, even as his eyes would squint, he would begin to raise his head to look back at Vegito and...
Nobody but me, Krimra!
Elusive! As shockingly, when Krimra would look back at Vegito, all he would see and sense is the Omni King himself, Luciv, his grin wide and his evil presence overpowering. It would be unclear if this was just an illusion or Krimra hallucinating from his blood loss. What he would see would be true to him. Whatever power just went through him like a knife through butter was no power of just a simple mortal. As with Krimra's face now shuddering in fear, he would mutter out one final time, "Who? Just who are you?" And in his final resort, in an unsightly scene for such a powerful demon, Krimra, the supposed demon god, would be forced to turn around and immediately fly off far into the sky, with just half his body and all leaving a rain of blood. As with true fear in his eyes, the creature of evil would run from one far more demonic than he could ever be. All the while Vegito, with his red wings flapped in the background, would make no move to stop him. And indeed, even as Krimra's trajectory would change to far above, potentially to even leave the sector entirely, the Angel of Death, Vegito, would calmly just watch below as if he were at the races. As an iconic laughter would be let out and his arms folded, Vegito would whisper, "As I told you, Yamoshi, in the end, all who witness my power will eventually run, demon or not. Run as far as you like, Krimra. Your fate is already sealed." But now, at top speed, the demon god would not look back at all. Now hundreds of miles away, Krimra's plan would be revealed as he would think, "This was a setup! That is not a mortal! That was Lucifer! He's back! I need to tell the devil now! If I get to the castle, I can return back to Sector 5! We're still the Emperor there! I can heal! I will not die here like this!" But letting off a huge sigh, almost as if bored, Vegito would soon remove his hands from his folded position and say, "Well, like you said, Krimra, all good things do eventually come to an end. Enjoy your final seconds." As now surrounded by an overflowing red aura and pressure shooting up from his feet as if about to launch a rocket, Vegito's gaze would not avert from the demon before. In a literal flash, the God Killer would be gone, shot into the sky with such a speed, not even the panels of the manga itself would be able to catch a glimpse of his moving body, as just a trail of condensation and smoke would be left behind from his movement. "Hold it right there, demon scum!" "What?" As just like that, like an instant transmission, no matter how much of a head start Krimra would have, the Angel of Death would appear right in front of him, ready to do good on his name. As the Demon Emperor, stunned to a full stop, would just quake in fear, unable even to believe Vegito's speed would catch up to him this easily. And as the Demon Emperor would struggle to say any more, his face would be left frozen and say 1,000 words instead. All in sight of Vegito's devilish grin, looking down with a head tilt, as he would let out, "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? I thought you were going to show my skull to the devil. You seem to be in quite the bad spot now. You really do remind me of the Destroyers, Demon God. It's all okay. I'll make things better now." As in a violent extension of his red wings, suddenly they would travel all around the body of Crimra and reach behind the fused Emperor. What? What are you doing? As in a flash, they would collapse inwards and wrap all around the screaming demon, almost like a motherly smother, but one nobody could escape from. And as we would zoom out from behind, we would see that even Vegito would begin being pulled into this mysterious ball of feathers, until eventually both him and Crimra would be sealed within, with not even a murmur or groan to be heard anymore from those inside. But it would not be the end there, as seconds later, the entire mass would begin changing texture, melting away into what could only be described as a margin boo-like goo, but completely red. And of course, watching this strange phenomenon from below would be Yamoshi, utterly perplexed, as with his mouth open in curiosity, he would question, what in Universe 7 did he just do? Is there no end to this punk's abilities? But it would soon become more clear to all what Vegito had in fact just done, as the red ball of goo would soon extend out an appendage, eventually forming an arm, and then some semblance of a face and head, before, from the back of the figure, all kinds of mysterious extensions would emerge. Whatever was coming out would not be the same as before. Has now revealed finally to have absorbed completely both the demon emperors of Sector 5 and 8 at once. Four-winged Vegito would be born, his angelic demon hybrid nature now at an all-new level, as even he can only look forward with a smile saying, how interesting! That was the tastiest meal yet! Maybe I should make it a habit of absorbing 2 of these demons at once from now on. But looking on at his palm, opening and closing it slowly, it would seem more than just appearance would have changed with the God Killer, as he would continue, my body, it's different. I can feel its durability and strength has changed significantly. Is this all because of these 2 freaks? Or have I evolved again? Whoa! Vegito! But down below, Yamoshi would be stunned at the 4-winged appearance of his young Saiyan apprentice, as he would wonder, Crimra, he's gone. So that's what he did. He absorbed them too. Again, without the candy beam. But Vegito, floating in the air with his wings slowly flapping, would hardly care for breaking his promise to Yamoshi. The promise of storing the demons within him, rather than direct power absorption, and instead remain silent. Before looking down with a widening grin at the snowy sector, he would suddenly proclaim, I'm done with this place. It makes me sick how long I've been here. I think it's time for a cleanup. As with his gaze curiously pinpointed at the kingdom of the sector, Vegito would immediately reach out his palm and yell unbelievably, Demonic Hakai! What? As out of nowhere, a red light of unrivaled intensity would then shine out from the God Killer's palm, catching the entire landscape instantly, including to a completely vulnerable Yamoshi, who this entire time had been watching, would now pay the price for being a bystander, as his final thought would just be, "This fool! Did he say Hakai? Why?" As ultimately, everything would then be lost finally in the light of Vegito's all-new demonic Hakai. And just to be sure, it was no illusion and was for the entire sector, as we would peer and see the effects of the kingdom itself within its walls. The many civilian demons would be seen walking around until... What's that light? Finally, the Hakai would reach even through the cracks of the walls. As they too would then be hit and turned to nothing but dust. Why Vegito did this, nobody would know, but the effects, at least on these demons, would be proven real. Though, only moments later, the light would eventually fade, and the snowy landscape of Sector 8 would still be seen somehow. That damn punk! Wait! Huh? But all would be clear when Yamoshi too would be seen, his eyes still closed, stinging from the light, before he would slowly begin opening them cautiously and... What? I'm still alive! What just happened? In a yell of relief and surprise, Yamoshi would stare at his own body, realizing he was still completely intact despite the so-called Hakai. Why would you not be, clown? But from behind, soon enough, a familiar voice would answer his rhetorical question. Vegito! As of course revealed, would be the God Killer himself. Now back in base, smiling with his own back turned to Yamoshi, as he would explain, that was just a little trick I wanted to try out. The demonic Hakai. The first selective Hakai of its kind. One that would only target those of demonic nature. This sector is completely cleansed now. Me and you are the only two left. Now come! There will be no butlers to serve me food. You'll be happy to hear. Let's get out of this damn snow corpse and speedrun our way through to Sector 5! As the God Killer, now in a notable rush, would then shoot off ahead of Yamoshi. But as the legendary third would watch on, he would temper his response, instead thinking just in silence, Snow corpse? Isn't that what crime called this place? Just how much of an effect are these demons having on you now, Vegito? But meanwhile, back in Universe 7, on a strange planet, a certain Saiyan would be undergoing a breathtaking transformation. I won't let anyone down again! As it would be revealed to be our hero Son Goku, with his newly awakened green seraphim eyes, struggling his hardest to control his newfound power. But ultimately, such a technique would take more than just one try to perfect, as unleashing a roar and rush of power. Wait! No! Goku would unknowingly completely drained himself of all his remaining energy. Instantly falling unconscious as the whites of his eyes would show, and then falling to the ground face first into a deep sleep to recover. And though it would seem Goku would be all alone on the planet, when the panels would shift back to the sea, something unexpected would be about to happen. As suddenly, a lone hand would come out of the water, grabbing on tight to the sand bed before... I'm not done yet! As unbelievably Emperor Flame would emerge still alive, not even Vegeta's new form being enough to completely eradicate him. As the truly tenacious demon would then begin getting up and start walking slowly, bit by bit, towards the nearest power source. His body clearly not what it was, at least, as he clings to nearby trees for balance. But it wouldn't be too long before he would reach said power source, the fallen Goku. I win. I always win! As looking down, damaged, with seemingly only one functional eye left, the grinning still Flame would mumble, "You two really thought you had me beat? You should have known. If Lord Lucif sent me here, then I was always going to win. The other shorter flesh pile can wait. You'll die here and now, Son Goku." But just as things would look bleak for the unconscious Goku, unbelievably, someone else would emerge on the planet with enough power to strike the Demon Emperor instantly across the face. Sending Flame's now completely weakened body hurtling through the air, as even in his final moments, he would wonder who could possibly have interfered. Eventually coming to a thud on the ground, his body lifeless, his pupils blank, and no more breaths coming from his mouth. Emperor Flame had finally been dealt with, and in the end, it was by neither Goku nor Vegeta. As soon, the mysterious unknown pair of feet would then land on the ground, swiftly turning away from Goku in the background, but the biggest reveal would be yet to be made. As if our eyes were deceiving us, on his hand would be another time ring. And with that, the warrior would open a time portal, and just like that be gone, leaving Goku now finally alone on the planet, still fast asleep, still alive. But just who, just really who was that just saved him? But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag WTF in the comments down below, and let me know just who is this mystery owner of another time ring. Or just head over to my Patreon right now, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked, and edited for you to enjoy with over 4,500 other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.